So Bang Si-hyuk, the chairman of Hybe, has officially been summoned by the court over the SM Entertainment stock manipulation scandal. Because of this, I've been seeing a flood of comments, especially from Team Bunnies, calling Hybe a terrible company. And that was expected. But it got me thinking, what about those theories people keep bringing up? Like how Hybe supposedly has deep government connections, or even controls the government itself. In this video, we're diving into all of that. I'll break down the SM stock manipulation case and how Mr. Bang is involved, revisit Hybe's own IPO controversy that's resurfaced time to time, and go through some of the other scandals that fans always bring up in the comments, like the BTS chart rigging claims, or Hybe being on Korea's antitrust watch list. There's a lot to unpack, and I've put a ton of effort into this video, so let's get into it. Anyone who is hearing about this scandal and court case for the first time, let me tell you, it's not at all new case. This is actually 2 years old case. It's all started back in early 2023, when bidding started to buy SM Entertainment, which is home for artists like EXO, aespa, NCT, etc. So at the time, 2 major companies were fighting to take control of SM Entertainment. It was Kakao, which is a tech giant, its CEO, Kim Byung-soo, and other was Hybe Entertainment and Chairman Bang. So long story short, Kim Byung-soo wanted to buy SM, and he did some shady stuff behind the scenes, so Hybe didn't get to buy SM. What are the allegations exactly? Prosecutors believe Kakao, specifically its founder Kim Byung-soo, may have illegally manipulated SM's stock prices to make it harder for Hybe to buy the company. They're saying Kim worked with other groups, if I pinpoint, with a private equity firm, One Asia Partners, to push SM's stock price higher than Hybe's offer. This was done to block Hybe's tender offer, which had a fixed price of 120,000 won per share. So this was done to discourage SM shareholders from selling to Hybe. The goal was to make Hybe's offer look too low and ruin Hybe's attempt to take over SM. Prosecutors say Kim was fully aware of this plan. What Kakao founder allegedly did is a major crime in Korea's Capital Markets Act, and even if you look globally, it's illegal. It's illegal to mess with the stock market like that. You can't just inflate stock prices on purpose or team up with other people to make the market react a certain way. And using insider info to get ahead, that's a huge no-no too. So they went on a buying spree of SM Entertainment shares on Feb 16-17 and 27-28 in 2023. It was allegedly done in bulk over a short period to inflate the stock price artificially. Prosecutors say Kakao and this private equity firm dumped like 240 billion won into the market just to spike SM's stock price and block Hybe's bid. What's wild is that this whole investigation started because Hybe reported Kakao. They dropped their own bid. Hybe withdrawed, and because of that, Kakao won in this competition. They became a major shareholder and the largest private stakeholder in SM Entertainment, and holds a 40.28% stake. And because of this, they are the dominant player in the company's ownership. Kakao Entertainment is not just a shareholder in SM Entertainment, but also owns several other K-pop agencies, including Starship Entertainment, EDAM Entertainment, and Antenna, as well as the music streaming service Melon. Actually, if you follow the music business very closely, you would know this competition between Kakao and Hybe is absolutely not something new, or something that just suddenly happened over SM Entertainment. Kakao is tech giant and Hybe is a giant in itself. They often are very competitive and rivals over a lot of stuff. Like now, Kakao Entertainment is reportedly developing a new fan platform, potentially to rival Hybe's Weverse, and is also investing in new rookie artists, building a superfan. The launch of such an app would directly challenge Hybe's dominant Weverse platform. Kakao recently filed trademarks. Hybe basically went, hey, something feels off with how Kakao suddenly bought all those SM shares during the bidding war. They called it abnormal trading, and that's what led to the probe in the first place. In the end, Kakao did win the takeover of SM Entertainment. Why Bang Si-hyuk involved in this? According to the new information, apparently, he met with Kim on February 14, 2023, just before this stock manipulation allegedly happened. At that meeting, Bang reportedly asked Kim not to try and take over SM, but Kim didn't listen and went ahead with his plans. This is a very serious case, and in July 2024, Kim Byung-soo was arrested. The Seoul court said he might have violated Korea's Capital Markets Act, which covers stuff like market manipulation and unfair trading. A few weeks later, on August 8th, prosecutors made it official. They indicted Kim on stock manipulation charges, so the case has been ongoing ever since, and he's got some serious accusations on his plate. By October 2024, after being in jail for more than 3 months, Kim finally got bail. It was set at 300 million won, around 217 grand in US dollars, but the court told him he couldn't contact anyone else involved in the case. And now in May 2025, we have an update. Bang has been officially called to testify in court to share what he knows about that meeting and whether any shady deals or agreements were discussed. The court wants to hear from Bang directly to understand how the fight between Hybe and Kakao over SM played out behind the scenes. So in short, the court is trying to figure out if Kakao cheated to win control over SM, and Bang Si-hyuk is being called in to help tell that story. There were many people who were happy that Kakao won this. It's mainly personal biases, comments like, Kakao did a good thing by preventing Hybe from acquiring a controlling interest in SM. Imagine how screwed the industry would be if they took over their biggest competitor. Bang would have made them put Espa in the dungeon so his own girl groups could step on them. This person wrote BSH should be judged by its own machinations. It is no secret that Hybe constantly manipulates the prices of its own company's shares, even to the point of buying its own shares in order to show a mass purchase. Hybe is already openly taking advantage of the privileges of a corrupt government. The claim that Hybe manipulates its own stock? I assume this person is talking about IPO scandal. And about Bang having government connections, many believes this is a popular conspiracy trope among anti-fans. If it were true that Hybe had such deep protection from the Korean government, we wouldn't see so many investigations against Hybe-related people remember the scrutiny over their IPO. If you don't know about this, I will explain this in a while. See, Korean politicians have already shown they're eager to criticize big K-pop companies. If Hybe had really done something criminal, trust me, someone would be jumping on it. Now, I'm not saying Hybe is squeaky clean or that the government doesn't maybe give them a little extra love, allegedly. I'm not that gullible. There have been a few moments over the years that definitely made people go, you'll see one shady headline, and then poof, it's gone. No follow-up, no closure. And then everyone moves on to the next scandal of the week. Like last year, out of nowhere, that old BTS chart rigging rumor made a comeback, right in the middle of the Hybe versus Min Hee-jin chaos. It just so happened to drop when RM was about to release his second solo album. According to Korea Jungang Daily, the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism said they'd launched an investigation into Hybe to see if there was any chart manipulation going on. They'd gotten a petition asking them to look into alleged rigging and blackmail that dated back to 2017. The whole thing got handed over to Kakao, the Korea Creative Content Agency, which was supposed to dig deeper and ask Hybe for a formal response. And if this whole thing turned out to be legit, BTS could have lost some serious honors, including their Order of Cultural Merit. So here's the tea. According to some viral anonymous posts on Naver, Hybe was allegedly blackmailed in 2017 by a guy named Lee and his crew. They claimed Hybe had used expedient marketing strategies when promoting BTS in 2015. Lee got a year in prison. The others, fines. The court even dropped the term 사자이기 marketing, aka shady tactics to mess with chart numbers, and claimed Lee had cut some deal with Big Hit before threatening to snitch. Hybe didn't stay quiet, though. They pulled out the legal big guns and warned they'd be suing anyone trying to drag BTS or violate their privacy. They posted on Weverse that they were seeing an uptick in coordinated smear campaigns, so the timing was shady. A 7-year-old scandal suddenly pops back up right when Hybe's getting dragged by Min Hee-jin. Come on, it felt like a strategic jab. In the end, a lot of people brushed this off as a not-so-subtle attempt to smear BTS, Hybe's biggest cash cow, when they were already out of the spotlight. And the finger-pointing, most roads seem to lead right back to Min Hee-jin's side. Oh, and there's this other thing fans always bring up when they're mad at Hybe. Like, Hybe is literally on Korea's antitrust list. And yeah, I get it. The name antitrust makes it sound super shady, like the government doesn't trust them or something. But most people don't actually know what it means. So here's the deal. The antitrust list is basically a government watch list for companies that are huge and have a lot of influence on the economy. It's not some blacklist or proof they did anything illegal. Hybe ended up on it just because their assets passed 5 trillion won, which is the current threshold. But that rule was made in 2009. And since then, prices in companies have grown like crazy. Even the government's like, okay, maybe this rule's outdated. They're now thinking of adjusting it based on GDP. And if that happens, Hybe might not even be on the list anymore. So yeah, I get why the name freaks people out, but it's more about keeping big companies in check than catching criminals or something. This industry thrives on noise. Some of it real, a lot of it orchestrated. Hybe might not be squeaky clean, but every time there's smoke, it doesn't always mean fire. Sometimes it's just someone holding a fog machine and hoping people won't look too closely. You know what I mean. I think bunnies and their politics are clouding the real issues here. People who already hate Hybe are using Kim Byung-soo's trial as an excuse to drag Bang Si-hyuk, even though legally he's not implicated. The back and forth arguments you're seeing aren't about justice anymore. It's Stan Wars dressed up in legal discourse. Korea's financial regulator did launch an investigation into Hybe's IPO from 2020, back when the company was still called Big Hit. This case was about Hybe's IPO, initial public offering, which is when a company first sells its shares to the public on the stock market. In 2020, Hybe, then Big Hit Entertainment, went public. It was a big deal because BTS was hugely popular, and people expected the stock to perform well. But then, Korea's financial regulator, FSS, started investigating whether anything illegal or unfair happened during that IPO process. What actually happened? In 2018, some investment firms, called PFs or private equity funds, bought a bunch of Hybe shares. By 2020, when Hybe went public, those shares became super valuable because of the hype. The investment firms were allowed to sell some of their shares right away, while other investors couldn't. This is unusual and gave them an advantage. These firms sold off their shares shortly after Hybe's IPO and made massive profits. It was later revealed that Bang Si-hyuk had a secret deal with them. If they made a big profit from the IPO, he would get 30% of their profits. If the IPO failed, Bang would buy back their shares, protecting the investors. This deal wasn't shared publicly at the time of the IPO. From that secret agreement, Bang reportedly made about 400 billion won for himself. So what's the issue? Basically, these private deals weren't made public during the IPO, so normal investors didn't know about these special terms. They bought stock without knowing the full picture. After the IPO, Hybe's stock plummeted by 60% in just a week, and many regular shareholders lost money. Then the Financial Supervisory Service started checking if this deal violated Korea's Capital Markets Act, especially rules about unfair trading and disclosure. They gave the shareholder agreement to the IPO underwriters, means to the banks managing the IPO. Hybe denied any wrongdoing. They said, so they argue it was reviewed and not hidden. Some argue that it gave unfair advantage to those private investors and raised ethical questions. Hybe and the involved firms claim everything was legal and approved by lawyers, saying it was a private agreement between shareholders and didn't affect ordinary investors. Hybe's IPO made a lot of people rich, but had people questioning how fair and transparent that process really was. While legally it was okay, many are debating whether it was morally or ethically right, especially in such a high-profile case. This situation isn't over yet. Authorities and people involved are still looking into what happened with these secret deals according to this article from 2024. There might be more updates in the future, or maybe not. They're saying the case is still under scrutiny, but it's been years since the IPO happened in 2020. That makes you wonder if it's really still under investigation. Why is it taking so long? Or has everyone quietly moved on and just not officially closed the case? So, does Hybe actually control the government? Probably not. But do they have powerful connections and suspiciously favorable outcomes in messy situations? That part's hard to ignore. From the IPO money trail to the sudden silence around old investigations, there's definitely enough smoke to make people wonder if there's fire. Whether or not anything illegal happened is still up for debate, but at the very least, Hybe hasn't exactly been the picture of transparency. And let's not forget, this IPO controversy got dragged back into the spotlight during the whole Min-hee-jin war. That timing. And yeah, bunnies have every right to hold Hybe accountable. If something shady went down, then consequences should follow. But this shouldn't just be about fan wars. At the end of the day, these scandals aren't just tea. They're a reminder that the K-pop industry is tangled in way more than music. It's power, politics, and money.